while we had gone through, we're winding through our first quarter here, but then hit NBA.com today at 3:20 this afternoon. Carmelo Anthony is heading to the Los Angeles Lakers.
Yeah, can you believe that?
He has signed a one-year deal with the Lakers, which was brought by Adrian Wojnarowski. Um, he's the latest addition to the revamped Lakers roster, which is going to include Russell Westbrook, Dwight Howard, as well as others. Kent Bazemore, Malik Monk, Wayne Ellington. You know, we all think about who is going to come in and win free agency in the draft, and I would love the LA Lakers, but after they added Westbrook, it just seemed like just the beginning to where they're really pushing hard to make a run, and especially with Chris Paul. Oh, look, we made a field goal. Chris Paul and Kawhi still lengthening out their contracts over in that division. It looks like that either LeBron's trying to do one more run in the tank, or he sat down with the front office and basically took the roster that he had and said, this ain't working.
Well, I don't know if you saw, Chris Paul did sign that 4-year, $120 million extension. So Chris Paul did sign. But, yeah, I think Carmelo was very interesting for sure. The big piece to consider there, though, is you add Carmelo, you add Russell Westbrook, you add Dwight Howard, a lot of big names, but potentially it's kind of asking, man, how is this really going to work? Is this a situation where you've got a lot of old players and you're trying to get these guys together for one last run? Even though a lot of old players do play better in the playoffs, you still have to work through the regular season. Is this LeBron wanting to play kind of quote unquote with family? There's a lot of big questions there. So definitely very interesting to see how this all shook out.
Yeah, big to see if they're going to feed all those egos. I think now that you have added some bench depth, I think bringing back Dwight Howard, which you know how he fit into that system with LeBron. When I had first heard that it was just Russell Westbrook coming, I will say I personally downplayed this trade a little bit. Russell Westbrook, I was talking to someone about it, and they're like, well, how do you feel about it? I said, well, we're just going to basically make Russell Westbrook the new Chris Bosh of the LA Lakers. He's going to be there. He's just going to be a piece player because as we saw in Washington, even though he was having lights out massive numbers with Bradley Beal, the roster around him and the team, he wasn't doing well because the team was well, he was carrying it. So now, though, that you've added this extra Carmelo pieces, Dwight Howard pieces, and adding what was the biggest problem for the Lakers this season, which was just bench depth. Now that you've been adding that, I'm interested to see how it goes.
Yeah, well, let me ask you this. You say that Russell Westbrook would be just the Chris Bosh. I mean, would Russell Westbrook just be the Chris Bosh? Do you think that would work? Russell Westbrook is not known to defer. He is one who loves the ball.
And that's where, to your point, I agree with also what you're saying, is I think unless he gets to defer, and, what are they going to do? Are they going to put AD in the paint? Westbrook is going to be running the ball a lot, and LeBron just going to be kind of calling the shots and being that coach LeBron that we've seen him be. And then plus in sub in Carmelo and Dwight Howard where you need to get in those key pieces. It will be like most LeBron James teams are, where it won't be until after Christmas that we see this team kind of gel, pending that they don't have any injury issues. Does AD get hurt again? Does LeBron get hurt again? Do they take as much rest as they did this time and try to cram it in the playoffs, which we saw didn't work with how great Phoenix was in the West? So that was huge. I'd also like to mention that another thing which I was sad to see happen was Kyle Lowry leaving Toronto, which definitely means that legacy of Kyle Lowry and, of course, Kawhi's been gone. But it felt a little bit to watch sort of the old guard truly 100% crumble, to which now, once again, Canadian sports are falling back into mediocrity. So just know that it hurt my Maple Fueled heart a little bit, Connor, to see that.
Oh, for I could only imagine, dear Rutledge. It was a definite. Um, I think that in some ways the Raptors are sort of just having a rebuild, and Kyle Lowry's just not necessarily a part of plans, and uh, being can only imagine what it's like being in Toronto. The Raptors have been able to raise one title, but there's something that I like to think about in sports, and I call it the time value of winning, right? In money and finance, the kind of the world that I work in, you've got a thing called the time value of money, which means that a dollar today is more valuable than a dollar tomorrow. And I think that a win today is more valuable than a win tomorrow. But a win tomorrow is more valuable than a win 2 days from now. So I think the question is always, man, would Kyle Lowry be a part of the team moving forward? Is this the right move for what the Raptors want to get done? And the Raptors decided no. And it'll be interesting to watch and see how they kind of shake all that out.
Be interesting to see for sure, as well as Orlando has added a great addition in this off season. They may win some games. Who did Orlando pick up over this time, Connor?
So in the first round of the playoffs, and by the way, let's see, we haven't played Madden here in a long time, and let's see if we make the kick. Made the first kick after a long Madden hiatus. Check it out. Um,
Look at him go.
in the draft, going into the draft, Magic had the fifth pick and the seventh pick, and the fifth pick was obviously the big one, and there were four players initially that it was kind of said, okay, these are the main guys, and Jalen Suggs was in there, and the Magic were kind of just on the outside of the top guys in a draft that was very deep. So in the weirdest of ways, the Orlando Magic at the number 5 pick ended up with Jalen Suggs, somebody that there was a lot of really smart people in the room that said could have been the number 1 overall pick. So, but besides that, and Mo Wagner, I think in the draft the Magic did very, very well.
I'm very interested to see how Orlando rebounds. We both know that. And it's one of those sports moments that we just remember where we were when Orlando gutted everything. Seeing can they rebound because of their choices. I have a good feeling about it. I think maybe they'll be a little better. Someone though that has a lot of pressure is number 1 overall pick, who we called the whole time, and it was sort of writing on the wall, is Cade Cunningham. So definitely interesting to see how he fits and how he flies high. Connor, what's your sort of prediction for the addition of Cade Cunningham?
I think that with this Cade Cunningham pick at number 1, obviously, he's just a man, right? He's one of those guys who he's the antithesis of Giannis, right? Giannis came into the league and he had to grow not just physically but also literally in stature. I think he grew like 3 inches after his first couple years. Cade Cunningham's coming in as a 6'7" just beastoid, and being able to come in and go right out of the chutes to do that is going to be really critical. I think that unfortunately the Detroit Pistons are not run very well right now, so I think that he's going to have, hopefully they're going to be able to put some nice pieces around him, or it could be a real situation a few years into his contract, he's already starting to have grumblings of being unhappy. So be very interesting to see. I think Cade Cunningham can very well come in and make an impact, and if the Pistons just put a little bit of help around him, I think he should perform very well.
Definitely going to need that. And I know you want to see some of those Pistons throwback unis hit the hardwood every once in a while. I want to take some time as does this run play falls apart. Say hey to Steven. Steven the Steady is back once again, and shout out to all of our viewers for coming out to French Stream Sports tonight at 8 o'clock. But I think you're right. He is a beast of a man who needs to be a little bit more supported in a good organization. Would you liken him more to okay, so here's an interesting take. With people in the organizations, would you liken his situation to more of Luca or more of Dame time, game time, where they're in an organization and they're going to have to, or Zion. So one of the three. What would you feel like he's coming into this situation?
You definitely not like Luka. Luka is, it's Luka Doncic is in the situation in Dallas that is very similar to their football team, actually, where the owner might be the best, the most notable person there, even in a team of stars. So not like Luka. You said Luka, Zion, and who else?
Damian Lillard.
Lillard. Don't necessarily think it's like Dame. I think the number one comparison would be a little bit more like Zion. In that it's not necessarily it's just kind of a mess of an organization right now, and uh, you know, time will need to tell if they can put some good pieces around around Cade Cunningham, and hopefully they do. Hopefully, it doesn't get hurt, right? I think in some ways there's folks who've said that Cade Cunningham could be the second coming of Grant Hill, which would be a ton of fun. And OBJ is just eating me alive over the middle. Good job there, Baker Mayfield. And being able to have those, being able to have that kind of play is going to be a really, really important piece for Detroit, which, Detroit could be a really good basketball town. They just haven't been in a long time. They had their sort of unsung hero team with, with Ben Wallace and Rip Hamilton. I remember those squads. But now it's, they haven't had much to be really excited about over the past decade.
No, it has been a long time since. Well, actually, if you talk about Detroit, it's been a long time since Motor City has had to be excited about anything because the Red Wings have been down, the Lions are the Lions. Oh, look at that disrespect from Odell Beckham Jr. He just cold stares and then he dances. Look at him go. That was beautiful. But relish with the slant. It would be interesting to see if Detroit gets a win. I take them as, they just need that kind of same thing as with Milwaukee, how they banded around the Bucks. We know Detroit would band around the Pistons. I also would like to bring up that with all the other offseason moves, the team to me that I think you need to watch is not the Los Angeles Lakers, but is someone that we are very familiar with on this show, and that is the Miami Heat. And I think it all talks about with Heat culture, which Connor, I know you're a big fan of, getting Jimmy Butler that max deal, making some other moves and putting in some other pieces, but I have a good feeling about this Heat roster. I think they did the right things at the right times.
You see, they just added PJ Tucker.
I know.
That's huge.
So it's huge. So it'll be
huge,
and especially for them to where, and they got to the playoffs, and while there was some COVID protocol and that team never seemed to kind of gel, to see them take a serious approach to adding in some right pieces for the roster, I think has really excited me to watch what they're going to do. And it shows a lot of faith that, that organization still knows what it's doing. We all, you would think, oh, LeBron James and being around, but LeBron James being gone, them not having it, then them coming to the finals where they a one and done. But I really think they're going to be a contender next year. I think a lot of the drama and the pay attention is going to be, of course, over in the Pacific Division with the Clippers, the Lakers, the Warriors, and the Suns, because I don't think the Suns are going to fall off. But I think Miami is going to be one of the teams to really kind of watch in the East, as everyone's going to, of course, stare at Brooklyn, and they'll have a lot of attention, especially since they locked up Blake Griffin for one more year. But I think they will be a team to reckon with. They'll be white hot next year.
Oh, those white hot Heat! There's going to be a lot of good basketball being played in the state of Florida. The ability for the Heat to, and don't forget that, especially with PJ Tucker, and the Heat were a team that lacked that size and physicality. They played really well, but they were just small, right? That's what exposed them in the finals, and I think that's what really hurt them against Milwaukee. So what did they do? They went and took the guy that Milwaukee was was kind of their big bruiser of a player. So being able to have that kind of an impact, I think, is a really, really important piece.
Who do you think is going to be a bigger deal for Miami next year, Kyle Lowry or Jimmy Butler? I will say the addition of Kyle Lowry to give my take ahead of time, just because of how much he was instrumental with really being there for Kawhi during the time against the Warriors.
I still see Jimmy Butler as being the dude down there in Miami. It's because it's not just about putting the ball in the basket, although he's obviously very capable at doing that. Not just about that, but that leadership, that capability of playing defense, that capability of getting the right guys in the right situation, and they still have some young guys out there, with Tyler Hero, folks like was it Duncan Robinson? He's kind of a young guy, if I'm not mistaken. So being able to have that sort of leadership mentality, I think Kyle Lowry is definitely coming into Jimmy Butler's team.
Oh, for sure, Jimmy Butler's team, but I think it will be. I don't think Kyle Lowry is going to take it away from him, but I think you're going to see them. I think you're going to see them in press conferences together, kind of like you remember when Westbrook and Katie used to do press conferences together, like they were just best friends at a school assembly or something.
Oh yeah,
I definitely think they're going to gel really well. So I'm excited about it. I wish, of course, the summer league is getting ready to get started. Um, Kyler Murray is still aggravating me. We still remember. That was a Michael Jackson thing.
sure was.
Sure was. We remember how much I don't like him. Um, but I'm excited to see what basketball is going to do. I'm also excited that football is back. The Hall of Fame game is this weekend, isn't it?
It's coming up. We are right here in football season is starting. Rutledge. I think that we should give ourselves and our listeners and our viewers a nice pat on the back. We have officially made it from the end of a football season to the beginning of another football season.
Yes, Hall of Fame game is Thursday, so 2 nights, 8 o'clock, Cowboys versus Steelers, and then the preseason will start after that. But I am with you. This will also mean that coming at the end of this month, ladies and gentlemen, we will be celebrating 1 year of FriendStream Sports.
Woo! Bring out the cake.
Bring out the Connor. I'll mail you a slice.
Oh, please do. My man.
It'll be red velvet cake.
Oh, good. You know me. That's my favorite.
It's my favorite, too. That's why we're real friends, real sports, really working our way to this first half on this monster show that we have here
Celebrating
live.
football. Speaking of football, Rutledge, give us your quick one-sentence take on Texas and Oklahoma to the SEC.
Can't wait.
Whoa. That was quicker than even I anticipated.
Of course, last week I did a big bunch of segments on that. Gonna be really interesting to see the schedule, but I'm excited to see the Texas A&M game back together. I'm excited to see Missouri get out of the East finally. It'll almost be like a mini Big 12 as what they have with the 4 teams. And it's gonna be fun to watch Oklahoma play Alabama and LSU throughout the